Hello everyone. Today the topic that we're going to discuss is CSS and HTML forms. So CSS and HTML are two essential technologies used to create forms in web development. HTML provides the structure and content of the form, while CSS is used to style and label the form. Here we will take an example of how to create a CSS and HTML forms. Here are the basic steps to create a form using HTML and CSS. HTML structure. First, we need to define the structure of the form using HTML elements. Doc type HTML is the doc type HTML declaration indicates this is an HTML5 document, and then HTML tag is the root element of the HTML document, and then head, where head is the head element represents a collection of metadata for the document. Under the head, a title and the CSS can be declared inside a style. Body, the body represents the content of the document. Under the body tag, I have used the h3 tag. H3 tag is a heading tag in HTML. It is used to indicate that the content within it is a subheading or a secondary heading of the page. And then I have used the div tag. So the div tag is a container tag in HTML that is used to group together other HTML elements and apply styles to them collectively. It is short for division and is often used to create selection or group of contents on a web page. Under the div tag, I have used the form tag. The form tag is a HTML container that is used to create a form on a web page. And then the action attribute is used to specify the URL of the script or program that will process the data submitted by the user. Under the form tag, I have used the label tag. So the label tag is used in HTML to create a label for an input element such as text, a checkbox, or a radio button. So the label tag provides a textual description for the input element. The for attribute of the label tag is used to associate the label with a specific input element on the page. After that, I have used the input tag. So the input tag is used in HTML to create an input element such as a text input, a checkbox. The type attribute of the input tag determines the type of input element that is created. So such as like type, text, password, checkbox, submit or reset. And then ID attribute to the input tag is used to uniquely identify the input element on the page. The placeholder attribute is used to provide a hint to the user about the expected format or content of the input element. Note that the name attribute is also included in the input tag. The name attribute is used to identify the input element on the server side when the form is submitted. To label. So here I have created a two labels. After this, another label I have been created where the submit, where here I have created another label where it is used for the selection purpose. So the select tag, I have used the select tag. So the select tag is used in HTML to create a drop down list of options that the user can select from each. Under the select, I have created option value. So the option tag specifies the values that is sent to the server when the form is submitted. After that, here I have given a India, Australia, Canada and USA. I have closed this select and here given as input, type as submit, where the submit button will appear, and then form, and then form is closed, div closed, and then body is closed. Now let's run the program and check how it will run. So this is how it will display. Now let's create a CSS for this. Type style, here This is a CSS rule that applies to all input elements with a type attributes of text and all select elements in the HTML document. So the CSS properties defined in these rules are width 100%, sets the width of the input and select elements to 100% of their containing element, and then padding 12px 20px sets the padding of the input and selects elements. Margin 8px 0 sets the margin of the input and selects elements. Display inline block sets, sets the display property of the input and selects element to be inline block. Border 1px solid sets a 1 pixel white border with a solid style and a color of a light gray. Border radius sets the border radius property to give the input and select element rounded the corners. Box sizing sets, sets the box sizing property to border box, which includes the padding and border in total width and height of the element. In this, the CSS properties defined in these rules are width 100%, background color slash 4CAF50, which is a shade of green, and then color white sets the text color of the input element to white. Padding sets the padding to input element. Margin 8px sets the margin of the input element. Border none removes the border of the input element, and then cursor pointer change the cursor to a pointer when hovering the over the input element, indicating that it is clickable. In this, the CSS property defined in this rules is background color, which is slash 4 5a 049, which is a shade of green color. Under the div tag, the CSS property behind in these rules are border radius 5px sets the border radius of the div to 5 pixel, giving it rounded corner. Background color slash f2 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 sets the background color to of the div to light gray. Padding 20px sets the amount of padding around the content of the div to 20 pixel. Overall, this CSS rule creates a box-like container with a rounded corner, a light gray background color, and 20 pixels of padding around its content. This is a common styling approach used to visually group related content on the web page. Now let's run this pro. So this is the final product of this. Okay, we can click on the first name, and then here on the last name, and then the under the option value we can click any option we want, and then submit the form. Thanks. Have a nice day.